Hey, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, perhaps. Thanks everybody for joining for our May 16th version of our TaskRay Overview webinar. Uh, Move on. This is me. I'm John Barlow. I'm an account executive here at Bracket Labs. I'll be running the demo here today, but just so you know, we're going to keep it pretty high level. We're going to give a good high level overview, kind of a good holistic understanding of TaskRay as a tool. But at the end of the day, TaskRay is a very, very versatile tool, and with some minor customization, it can really be tweaked to fit nearly any process. So really, if you're new to TaskRay and even the slightest bit intrigued by what you see here today, be sure to schedule some time to talk one-on-one. And you can find my cell phone number here as well as my email address. And I will quickly let my colleague who's with me, Kirsten Bremer, introduce herself.
Hi everyone, I'm Kirsten Bremer. I'm the product marketing specialist with Bracket Labs, and I'm going to be joining John today. And before we jump into the demo, I wanted to walk through a couple of updates and some info that we have to share with you all. And we'll just jump over to the next slide here. And so first we want to let you know about a couple events that we have coming up. One of them is we are launching an e-course learning series on TaskRay and Agile development. So it's a little bit of a deeper dive than we're going to go here in this webinar, but if you are interested in learning more about how you can use TaskRay for Agile development projects or just Agile projects in general, that is going to be launching in mid-May, so probably in the next week or two. In our follow-up email, we'll include a link to that e-course learning series. And then we also have an event coming up on Thursday, July 26th, here in Denver at the Daydreaming at 5280. It's a Salesforce event, and we'll be represented there. So if you're in the area, we'd love to meet you face-to-face.
Awesome. Thanks, Kirsten. So before we jump into a demo, just really quick, so you kind of know who you're talking to here, I want to talk a little bit about Bracket Labs and then also some ways you can connect with us. Bracket Labs as a company was founded in 2010, so we're about 8 years old, and so is TaskRay. TaskRay is our main product. We also have another product on the App Exchange called Campaign Calendar, which is a way for marketing users or anybody for that matter to visualize Salesforce campaigns within Salesforce on a nice interactive calendar. But we're based in Lafayette, Colorado, which is just outside of Boulder, and we've got over 1,400 customers right now using TaskRay to manage just about every type of project or business process you can imagine. It's been really amazing to watch TaskRay be adopted by such a diverse group of teams, and it's really just a testament to how versatile the tool is. A little bit more about TaskRay, if you're kind of new to the tool. And I guess if you're in the hunt for a project management tool right now, you've probably realized that there's a lot of them. There's a lot of project management tools out there. But TaskRay tends to be a little bit different for a few reasons. And one of the main reasons is that we are 100% Salesforce native. So we are built right into the Salesforce platform. A lot of times project management tools tend to live outside of Salesforce. And a lot of times this results in double data entry, lack of visibility, just not a good integration with the rest of your data. So by bringing it into Salesforce, really what we're doing is creating a secure environment, because all of your information will stay in Salesforce on Salesforce's servers. We don't house any of your data. We don't have access to any of your data. It's all in Salesforce. It also means we're incredibly customizable. So when I mentioned that we're a very versatile tool, a lot of that has to do with TaskRay in general, but the other piece of that is the ability to take advantage of everything that Salesforce has on their platform, from workflow automation to permissions and reporting. Really just about everything you can do elsewhere in Salesforce, you can also do in TaskRay. And since we are sitting on their platform, you can create relationships from your projects and tasks back to very specific Salesforce information, whether that's an account or an opportunity or a campaign or a case, right? Even custom objects. If you have custom objects built in Salesforce, you can create relationships back to those. So very, very easy to create those types of integrations. And I guess the last piece is that we're going to be scalable. Really, as a Salesforce user, you're you're running on one of the most powerful cloud computing platforms in the world. And since we're native, we kind of just piggyback right off of that. You never have to worry about TaskRay crashing or our servers going down because we don't have any. It's all in Salesforce, and you can have that confidence. Aside from being native, one thing I want to mention is just the simplicity of TaskRay. It's really designed to be easy to use, and you're going to see that when we get into the demo. It's designed to be easily adopted. Really, everything we've built and everything we continue to build is designed with usability in mind. And this is really because this is supposed to make your life easier. It's not supposed to feel like more work. TaskRay is supposed to take some of the busy work off your plate. And we've had really good adoption success because of that. And the last point I'll make is that we're versatile, right? I've mentioned that a few times, but I think it's really important to note. Being easy to use while also running on the power of the Salesforce platform has really enabled our customers to use TaskRay for all kinds of different things. So with that, I will jump out of my slides and open up my demo environment here. And the first thing you're going to see is that I'm logged into Salesforce, right? I'm in Salesforce here. I'm currently in the Lightning version of Salesforce, the Lightning interface. And just really quickly, if you're still in Classic, no worries. I think most of our customers still are. A lot of people still are, but more and more people are starting to make the switch to Lightning. Just know that TaskRay, the interface itself, is 100% the same between Classic and Lightning. So there's nothing held back, no differences whatsoever. The only major difference that you're going to see between Lightning and Classic for TaskRay is these components. So we've got 10 or so Lightning components that we've built for TaskRay that you can embed on your homepage, on an account or an opportunity, really anywhere in Salesforce where you want to sprinkle TaskRay. So just kind of imagine anywhere where you want to visualize your projects, you can use these components to do so. So pretty cool. That's in Lightning. You'll see some of that here today, but if you're in Classic, no worries at all. If I click the TaskRay tab here, it's going to take me to the TaskRay interface, and you're going to see, like I said, we're native. We're built right in. Just like that, I was able to access my project management tool. Some general navigation of the screen here, and I'll actually deselect my project just to simplify it. Right now, you can see I'm on this first view on the work tab called the Kanban view. And this is just a very simple Kanban board, maybe similar to what you've used in the past with some other tools. We're going to come back and talk more about this. But really, we have 4 views going across the top here. A Kanban board, the row view, which is a way to group your tasks together in different ways. We have something called the plan view, which is more of your traditional Gantt chart style visualization. And then we also have a calendar view, which is just a simple way to plot your tasks and your projects out on a calendar. So we'll come back and talk about all of these. We also have another view over here called the portfolio view. And the portfolio view is really more of your high-level project view, kind of geared toward a project manager or an executive or somebody who needs to come in and look across an entire portfolio of projects and quickly recognize problem areas, bottlenecks, things that might need attention. And we'll come back and talk a little bit more about this. But one area that I want to draw attention to, and I think kind of one of the most important areas of TaskRay, is this left-hand sidebar. Because ultimately this is going to control what you're seeing in TaskRay at any given time. And it's going to be dependent upon what filters you have selected and then what projects you have selected. And this will all make sense once we get some data populated on the screen here. But this is a really, really powerful section, and this board filter section is customizable by the user. So what I mean by that is each user is going to have customized board filters that take them very specifically to the things that they're interested in. So you don't have to go digging through other people's stuff to find out what you're responsible for. You've got filters that take you right to your own things. Over here on this right-hand side, you'll see a number of tabs going across, and I can open each one of these up. These are going to show us things like the team on our project, conversations that are happening, file attachments, time tracking, and we'll come back and talk a little bit more about that as well. But the first thing I like to do in these webinars is actually build a new project right in front of you, because I think it's important to see how easy it is to build a project in TaskRay. And how easy it is to start building your own processes into TaskRay. So we're going to do that here. I'm going to select just my standard project type, and you'll see when I do that, it opens up the details tab, takes me to an area where I can start to populate my project data. And it's important to note that all of the fields that you see here are customizable. So just like you would add a custom field to anything else in Salesforce, you can do the same thing in TaskRay to track very specific data points related to your process. And ultimately, everything you have here is going to be reportable using Salesforce reports and dashboards. So since we're sitting on Salesforce's platform, we utilize the same reporting tools that you would use for any of your other Salesforce data, and they're very, very powerful. So as long as you have the right data points in place, you can get some really powerful metrics on your projects. Right? For now, I think we'll just call this one May Overview Webinar. I won't populate any of the other data for now, just for time purposes, but I'll click Save and Next, and that's going to jump me immediately over to my Team tab. So when I'm thinking about who's going to work on this project, I can start to add in some of my team members. In this case, maybe I need Maggie, I need, we'll say Andrew. So I'm just typing their names and selecting them, and it's adding them to this list. It's also sending them an email notification letting them know that they've been assigned to a project team, and they can probably anticipate some tasks coming their way. So once I've built out my team, I can go ahead and exit out of here, and you'll see my May Overview webinar has been created, but currently doesn't contain any tasks. So I'll just go ahead and start to create some tasks for this webinar. We'll say we had an intro task. We talked about what it meant to be native to Salesforce. Right now, we're going to build a project. We'll discuss templates, which is a huge feature that a lot of our customers use. Right now, we're building a project from scratch, but we'll also talk about cloning from templates. We'll talk about reporting, and of course, leave some time for Q&A at the end. So just like that, I was able to create 5, 6 tasks here just by typing the name of the task and adding it to my holding column. If I open any one of these tasks, you're going to see a details tab that looks very similar to what existed or what exists at the project level. But just keep in mind, this is a completely different, unique set of fields at the task level. So when you start to think about the tasks in your projects and what's important to track on those, again, you can add your custom fields, you can report upon all of those as you need to. All right. Going one layer in from there, so thus far we've got project, we've got task. A lot of our customers will also have requirements where this task might have 5 things that needs to happen in order for them to successfully complete it. That's where this checklist feature comes into play. And you can really think of these like subtasks. These are just your little pieces, the things you need to do. You can call it whatever you want. I'll just call it to do. And very generically, I'll just call them item 1, item 2, and item 3. So these are the things we need to do to successfully complete this task. And while I'm the owner of this task in this case, perhaps I need other people to do these. So I can go ahead and assign different people. Maybe Maggie takes this one, and Brooke takes this one, and Andrew takes this one. So just like that, I was able to assign those checklist items to them. They can come in and check the boxes indicating that they're completed, thus indicating to me as the task owner that I can go ahead and advance this forward. Right? So now we've got a project, we've got our tasks, and we've got our subtasks built in. One optional thing that not everybody needs, but a pretty cool feature that we have built in is something called task group mode. So imagine you've got your project, you've got all of your tasks, you've got your subtasks, but ultimately these tasks are broken into phases, or they're categorized in some way that you want to be able to visualize. So if I were to toggle on task group mode, what it's going to allow me to do is create what we call task groups. And really what they're going to be is like a swim lane in the Kanban board. So I'll just create two of them, call them phase 1 and phase 2. But now I've got these individual swim lanes in my board where I can say, okay, Q&A and reporting and discuss templates all belong in phase 2. And let's say building the project and the intro and the native talk belong in phase 1. So now I've kind of segmented out my tasks, and I can toggle this on and off at any point. So I can still group them all together and visualize them this way, but at any point I can turn on task group mode and see each of the task groups, where are the tasks within them, and I can even move tasks between groupings, which is a pretty cool way. If you ever have tasks that for any reason may move into a different task group, it's very easy to do that. So the last thing I want to do for building out this template, or building out this project, I should say, is build out my timeline. So the only thing we haven't done thus far is assign dates to these tasks. And my favorite way to do that is the third view here, the plan view, which is that Gantt chart view I mentioned. So perhaps this first task we know happens on today, and it's 2 days long, and the next task starts a day later, and it's 4 days long. Really what I'm doing is just visually building out my timeline here and assigning dates to these tasks. And it's important to note that really behind the scenes, what I'm doing is populating a start and end date field within the task itself. So without having to come in here, set the start date, set the end date, click save, and it's 4 clicks to get something done, I can simply just drag it onto the board. And that's something you'll see happen a lot here in TaskRay, a lot of drag and drop functionality. Another thing I can do within here is create task dependencies. So if I know that all of these tasks are dependent upon one another in one way or the other, either a forward-driven dependency or a backward-driven dependency, we've got a very, very robust dependency functionality built out here in TaskRay. But you can build those very simply, and really this allows for a concept that we call cascading deadline dates, which is just a fancy way of saying, okay, if build project ends up taking 2 days longer than it's supposed to, how is that going to affect our downstream tasks that we've made dependent upon that one? So TaskRay is doing those calculations for you without you having to stop and think through that process, right? So just like that, we built out a project from scratch, and it's pretty easy, pretty straightforward for anyone to do, but ideally we won't have to build it from the ground every single time. Really any repeatable process you have can be built into a template project, and really it could be a fully involved template with everything included and all of the tasks and the timeline defined, or it could be a little more lightweight. It could just be a general framework with just a few tasks, because you know you'll be adding more tasks as you go. You might delete things are going to change, right? But at least having that starting framework to work out of is always a good starting point. So if I were to select my templates filter here, we can just take a look at some of the templates that I have pre-built. One here you see is a customer onboarding template. So this is for onboarding a new customer, all of the steps that we do after we win a deal. We've got all those defined. We've got our dependencies pre-built, our milestones defined, and so on. I've also got one for creating and running a webinar. I've got one for new product development, right? The list goes on. Really, you can start to think about any process you have that could be built into a template, and then you can clone those templates as needed. And really, there's 2 ways to do that. I can either do that manually by coming in here and clicking clone template and saying, okay, I need to grab my new customer onboarding template, and I want it to start, not showing up for me, search for it. Customer onboarding template. Faked myself out. Customer onboarding template, and then step 2 is going to ask me to adjust this timeline that we've predefined one of 3 ways, by either setting the start date and having everything adjust based on that task, setting the due date and having everything work backward, or you can select a specific milestone. And this is especially useful if you have a specific milestone or a specific task within the project that everything kind of revolves around. You can select that specific task, set that to a specific date, and then have everything adjust accordingly. And then once you've done that, you give it a name, you click clone, and just like that, you've created a project that's ready to go. It's ready for work. You can start assigning work, you can add tasks, you can remove tasks, really whatever you need to do. So that's the manual way to do it. But like I've mentioned, since we're native to Salesforce, we can take advantage of some things like workflow automation. And we can actually, we've got some specific automation built into TaskRay, which can create a project from a template based on a trigger in Salesforce that you define. And that could be anything. It could be on an account, it could be on a case, a campaign, a custom object. But kind of sticking in this theme of new customer onboarding, a lot of times that would trigger from something like a closed won opportunity. So if I were to go run and look at one of my opportunities here, we can see I've got a few closed won already, but this Capterra software opportunity is currently in the negotiation review stage. So it's ready to close. We might come in here. Let's imagine I'm a sales rep. So I come in and I change this to closed won. Well, really what's happening is a workflow in Salesforce is running. It's going to TaskRay and it's saying, okay, we just won a new opportunity. So grab our new customer onboarding template and create a project from that. And not only create the project, but name it appropriately with the name of the account, adjust the timeline based on the close date, and most importantly, link it back to the relevant Salesforce data. So in this case, it was linked back to both the opportunity and the account. So now you can see my little TaskRay Lightning components are showing me my project that just got created with each of my phases and the completion percentages of each. I've got a to-do list here showing me all of my tasks, a few of which are overdue because it looks like my close date was yesterday, so that's why this task got set to yesterday. But if I were to finish some of these, my components are going to update in real time to show me real-time completion percentages. And at any point, I can navigate directly back to TaskRay to see this project and work on this project in one of the many views here. All right. So I guess jumping back to the Kanban view, now that we've got this project created, you'll see that there's 4 columns going across the top. And really, this is probably the most popular view for TaskRay because it allows you to see the statuses of your tasks and make very simple drag and drop updates to those, whether that's moving the tasks through the column to update statuses or dragging a user onto a task to assign them work. This is another very simple drag and drop action that can actually be done across any of the views. But I think it's important to note also that the Kanban columns are 100% customizable. So you can change the names, you can change the quantity, really whatever these columns best represent in relation to your process, go ahead and customize them. I would say the majority of our customers do. If the default works for you, by all means, run with it, but just know that you can customize those. Now, just kind of thinking about this through the lens of an end user now, that the project has been created and this is somebody logging in to work in TaskRay. Again, these board filters are going to be really powerful because we've got a number of pre-built board filters, things that are kind of high level, like, okay, show me all of my tasks across 20 different projects, or show me all of a specific person's tasks, or there's a few different ways you can narrow things down. But ultimately, you can create custom views. So you might create a filter, something like, okay, when I click this filter, I only want to see my tasks, but I only want to see my tasks that are overdue and high priority. And you can really use any field criteria that you have within your task to narrow down what you're seeing at any given time. So really, really powerful user-specific views, getting them to the things that they're interested in seeing. A few other things to mention, if I open up a task, every single task is going to have a unique chatter feed. So really what this is enabling you to do is take your conversation and your collaboration out of where it traditionally may live, which might be email or some other communication platforms, and it allows you to put it contextually right on the task that it's related to. So if I'm working on this Q&A task, I could come in here and do an @ mention to Maggie and just say, hey, Maggie, do we have any questions? And since I did that @ mention to her, she gets a notification, she comes back in and responds in line. We have a threaded conversation, we attach our files here. And really what we're doing is providing transparency. Now everybody can see what's going on, who's talking about what, but not only that, you're creating a historical context of everything that was said in relation to any process. So imagine in the example of a customer onboarding project, you have a number of people working on it. There's a lot of moving pieces, and a year from now, you might get a question from that customer, and you're going to need to go back and see who was working on this, who said what, how did we come to this conclusion, and you're going to have that historical record because the project will just be archived, but still related back to the account in Salesforce, so it'll be very easy for you to find that. All right, let's see. I guess in the interest of time, I just want to quickly show the portfolio view again, because I think this is a really powerful view, especially for those looking to get metrics across an entire portfolio of projects. What the portfolio view allows you to do is, again, build custom views. So each user will have the ability to kind of segment out the project by certain project attributes, like only show me projects due in the next 2 weeks, or only show me projects that are in a specific region or of a certain type. I've got some built out here for agile projects versus onboarding projects. If I select my onboarding projects, you'll see I've really got 3 of them here. I can collapse them up to hide those task groups, those phases, just to see the overall completion percentage. Or at any point, I can expand it down to see each one of those phases and the overall completion percentages of each, and the appropriate, or the start date, the end date, along with some other information. And right now I'm showing the owner of the project, I'm showing the actual time spent versus the estimated time. Time tracking is a feature that we have built into TaskRay to log time on projects, billable time, things like that. Don't have a lot of time to run into it today, but absolutely something we could talk more about. But really just giving you kind of a holistic view across the whole portfolio of projects. And if you want to get more granular, you can start to select some of these projects and open up the info tab over here, which is going to show you some more granular detail in relation to these projects. Things like, where are all of the tasks by status? How many are overdue? What's been blocked, indicating that it needs attention? What's our estimated versus our actual time? Right, approaching milestones, tasks that have been deemed at risk because they're either overdue or they've exceeded a milestone, which is a static milestone. Those are things that'll be automatically flagged in TaskRay. You'll also see things like capacity. So you can see either by task count, how many tasks are assigned to each person, by status across these 3 projects, or you can even spin it into things like time tracking and showing, okay, how much time have we estimated by user across each one of these projects, or all 3 of these projects, I should say. So I can see really quickly that, hey, Brooks got 18 hours, but looks like Maggie's only got 2. So we can maybe start to assign some additional work to Maggie, right? All right, the last thing I'll mention is reports and dashboards. And like I mentioned, since we're native, we do utilize Salesforce's reporting and dashboard functionality. We've got a number of pre-built reports that come out of the box with TaskRay. Things like tasks due today, tasks that are overdue, project completion percentages, pretty high level stuff, also some related to time tracking. But just keep in mind that this is very, very versatile, and you can create custom reports, custom dashboards based on whatever metrics you have in your projects, right? This is very similar to how you would report on anything else in Salesforce. Okay, so that is my whirlwind tour of TaskRay, and I think I'll turn it back over to Kirsten and see if we have any questions.
Awesome. So thank you so much, John. That was a great overview. We have a few minutes left. If anyone has any questions, you can type them into the sidebar there on your GoToWebinar menu bar. So if there's any questions, please throw those up there. And if there's not, and you think of it later, just feel free to shoot John an email. He'll be sure to get back to you. Let me just check and see if there's any questions. And it looks like we are all set. So again, we will be sending out this recording as well as a link to the e-course that I mentioned earlier, and it will include all of John's contact info if you want to reach out to him, and he will be happy to run you through a more detailed demo or talk more about your use case. So thank you all so much for joining us today, and we look forward to hearing from you soon.
Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye.